Welcome to Lorehammer, episode 28, Hive Fleets.
Hello and welcome to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey, I'm Mark.
And I'm Christian.
Joining us today is Christian. Jordan is not with us today.
Yes.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He'll
So
be
if we
sorely
sound
missed.
like groggy or anything, it's because it took us like 10 hours already to set this all up.
Yeah, it's
Proper
rough.
levels.
I don't even know.
You had to turn on the computer somehow.
I had to press a button to start recording. That was tough.
That was difficult.
That's not easy. But welcome back to Lorehammer. It's been a solid month since I've chatted with you guys because I was not there for the last episode.
Yeah.
So that was.
Did you miss it?
I did actually. It's
Well,
it's.
I guess the
it's
feelings
kinda
only
my
go one
baby.
way.
What? Oh, that hurts. It's kind of it kind of feels like it's my baby. So I was listening to the episode and I was enjoying it and laughing it, but also I was missing out on participating. That made
Companionship,
that made
friendship.
me sad.
Yeah.
So, but either way, we're gonna have a good episode today, and that's all that matters.
Why'd you miss last episode?
I don't want to talk about it.
Space?
I wasn't here.
He's busy getting tattoos.
Yeah, but today's episode is all about Tyranids and Tyranid hive fleets and
Bugs.
the bugs.
The creepy crawly bugs.
Yeah.
Space bugs, ground bugs, creepy crawly space ground bugs.
Yay.
Bugs.
Those things. Yeah, today's is all about bugs. But before we get started, there's a couple things I'm going to take care of. And today, we're not going to do a game. I found a quote as we were doing research, and I'm going to share something with you guys. So right off the top, here we go. We cannot live through this. Mankind cannot live through this. In a single day, they have covered this planet with a flood of living blades and needle-fanged mouths. Kill one, and 10 take its place. If they are truly without number, then our race is doomed to a violent death before every shred of our civilization is scoured away by a force more voracious than the fires of hells themselves. Death! By the machine god, death is here.
That's a quote about my in-laws.
That is a quote by Magos biologist Varnak, and he actually comes into play in today's episode. Obviously, he is talking about the Tyranids themselves. It just seemed like really cool, and I wanted to share it with all these guys out here.
You're such a great reader. We're so motivated to die with the rest of humanity now. Might as well just abandon all hope.
I was reading Black Templar quotes the other, probably a while ago.
Yeah.
I seem to remember I was on this kick a while ago, and I was sending them to Mark and Christian, and then all of a sudden I found this one about Sigismund getting his black armor for the first time.
Yeah.
And it got me so fired up. Like,
While you're putting on your suit for work, you're just like imagining you're putting on power armor.
no, honestly, it was like one of the coolest. I was like, this is why I love the Black Templar. Like, it was just like the quotes, like within 40K, like they have like a really good like place in my heart. You know? Is that just me? I don't know.
might just be you.
Maybe it's just me.
No, they're pretty cool.
Yes, I enjoy them. If you have a cool quote, obviously I would enjoy seeing that. Let's do something else before we get started. Another housework. We're going to talk about our Patreon.
Oh boy.
And the reason we're talking about it is because one of us, I'm
Not
not
gonna name names.
pointing at people or staring at. No, I'm just kidding. Mark and I have been chatting about Patreon. We're looking at, we're chatting about its purpose, what it's serving, how we're giving back to you guys, and we've come to a realization that
It's fucked. It's all fucked.
not good.
Yeah.
It's not great. So we're doing a complete rework. So we've started to send stuff out, but as of this point, if you were to look at our Patreon, you'll see that our rewards are completely gone.
Now, having said that, if you have contributed at this point,
Yeah, and
like-
if you deserve it,
we're giving you stuff.
yes.
So don't worry. If you contributed just so you can get a t-shirt, we're still going to send you it.
Of course. It's just going forward, we're doing a complete rework of it, and instead of doing rewards, we're going to work out something else. Now, if you haven't received what we were supposed to, send us a message.
Yeah, just in
Right?
case we forgot about you, it got lost or whatever.
Just
but,
in case we're missing it, just send us a
'cause
message.
I know
We'll work through it.
A couple people were like, "Oh, can we get a T-shirt size?" And then we never heard back from you guys. So if you hear that and you never got a T-shirt,
Yeah,
let us know.
exactly. Yeah, so we're working our way through it, but we're doing a rework of it. We're gonna come out with some stuff in a couple of days. Probably by the time this episode is released, we'll have released what we're going for. We're instead of going for a reward type system, we're literally just gonna put it out there. And if you guys want to contribute to adding things to the podcast, then we want to give you guys an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, basically, like we have a couple ideas of things that we would like to help make the podcast itself better. Like we want a new microphone, so we're gonna put up an ad for a microphone or
like
whatever.
a target for a microphone.
And then you can contribute to that. And then every time we complete one of these goals, we'll take like a couple bucks and we'll do a contest or do something simple with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have to contribute to that specific goal in order to be entered into the contest.
Yeah, we'll come out with the specifics in a little
some
bit.
like that. But
it is being reworked, and if you haven't received your reward yet, please message us because we want to make sure you get it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That being said, if you want to purchase Lorehammer merchandise, you can do that on Redbubble. We have a link on our Facebook to Redbubble. We also have a link on our Podbean to Redbubble. You can buy a lot of crap like shirts and cups and
Crap is right.
I mean, let's be honest. It's
High
knickknacks.
quality.
It's knick-knacks, you know.
Shirts are not knickknacks, Eric.
I view them as a knick-knack.
Every day.
I view them as optional. But I honestly think that's all the housework that we have to do. So, I mean, we're only like 10 minutes in, but let's...
I got a good story to share.
Okay. And before that, yes. No, you're right. Share your story, and then there's one more thing I want to talk about before we start, but go ahead.
Okay, so just cruising around on Reddit, and one guy's like, "Are there any good 40K podcasts?" And then I'm like, I'll just plug Lorehammer real quick.
Is this...
No, it's not the one you're thinking
Okay,
of.
all right.
It's a better one. So,
I sense there are many stories.
so I just said, check out Lorehammer. It's a completely lore-based podcast. And then throughout the day, people are responding, saying the things, "Oh, check out these guys, check out these guys." But one guy put replied to mine. He's like, "They had a guest on not too long ago that I wasn't a fan of, but other than that, 10 out of 10. So I'm like, man, who is he not a fan of?
Which guest?
Which guest? So like, I message him privately. I'm like, hey, like, oh yeah, like just always trying to make our podcast better. Like, was there a specific reason why you didn't like that guest? Who was that guest? Like, what episode? Like, just trying to get some details. And then he's like, this is James Gilder, the guy who was on the last episode, and he was just making a joke. And I look at like his name, it's James a Palooza,
Which is his name. Like, that's his tag. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
so
so
he was just poking fun at himself.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, that's actually pretty funny.
Let's toss those blankets on those guitars. I keep hearing like reverb.
All right, now that we're back, now that the guitars are taken care of, let's get into something else. So, do you guys remember the Satan episode where I was mispronouncing Satan or wondering what the correct one was? And I
Yes.
like jokingly put out there like, oh, someone should listen to the entire episode and count all the different ways that I said the word Satan. And then Colin, who was on the last episode as well, he had listened to the episode and he sent us this. So I thought like someone would just send us like a message, like a written one, but he sent us a recorded one. So take a listen.
Orc Mechanicus Speranza, Temprist Log 26. Assessment of Vox Remembrancer Eric's pronunciations on subject Xenos Race 15332. Findings: Satin 1, Catan 7, Satan 72. Disapproval. Linguistics inconsistent. Recommendation: removal of organics in favor of synthetic vox coder. Lingua technis more accurate. No room for fallible interpretation. Humorous. Considered removal of organics in favor of squelching. Also appropriate.
So that was what Colin sent to us, which is which is pretty awesome. I was not expecting
For
that.
a man who has very little free time, he appears to have
Seems
a
to have a
lot
lot of free time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was very enjoyable to read. So it turns out The correct way to say it is Satan.
Uh-huh.
Just so everyone
I'm
is
just
clear.
surprised at the number of times you said it.
72 for the one.
Well,
He counted that.
yeah. Not only did he listen to the podcast once, he listened to it again, presumably
Well, yeah, 'cause-
after the point where you said you have to go back and start again. And then he had to, like, count and keep track of, so I'm guessing he had to pause at some point.
I like to think that he has like one of those like step counters in his
yeah.
head, and he's just clicking
3 different
every
ones,
time
yeah.
he hears the word. Anyways, thank you for that, Colin. It's appreciated. Now I know the correct way to say it, and it's Satan. All right,
Kitten.
kitten. In that, let's dive right into this.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about Tyranids, but more specifically, we're talking about Tyranid Hive fleets.
Yeah.
And then more specifically from that, we're talking about three fleets. We're going to be doing Behemoth, Kraken, and Leviathan.
Yeah, the 3 major ones.
The biggest ones that ever were. Dun,
And ever was.
Uh-oh. What just happened here? Nope. Gosh, this computer thing is freaking me out.
I mean, without Jordan, this whole podcast really falls apart. The
I'm
whole-
so nervous.
the chemistry in the room is
I know.
quite right. You know, he's
Yeah.
the silent glue that holds the group together.
The Silent King.
You're still filling on the computer, so I'm not sure if you're recording.
No, we're definitely recording. I'm just real nervous. It's not recording correctly.
It's like my first time podcasting. He's got sweat on his face. He's like on a first date.
My palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti, you know? All right, let's get into it. Behemoth, Hive Fleet Behemoth.
Well, just before we get right
okay.
into it.
Yes.
So there are a number of different things when we're talking about the Tyranids fleets. There are Hive fleets, and there also are splinter fleets. And the main difference between like Hive fleets and splinter fleets and like all those kind of little things is Hive fleets are like the main arm of a Tyranid like invasion, where splinter fleets are kind of like the fingers that kind of like reach out and like branch off and do other things, where like the main branch is the actual Hive fleet.
Yeah, you can have a bunch of like splinters come
Yeah.
off of a major Hive
Exactly.
fleet.
So, like when we're talking about like Leviathan, it has a number of Hive or splinter fleets that go off and do different things, and they might even still like be called Leviathan by like Imperial records, but like technically they're a splinter. Like
Yes.
So.
Yes. But today we're just going to talk about like the main
yeah,
fleet itself and what they would do.
yeah,
Okay, so Hive Fleet Behemoth. Now, this is the first major Hive fleet that the Imperium of Man encountered, and the date we have for that is 745 M41.
yeah. Which it's always crazy when I read these dates, like the Tau date when they first emerged, the Nid date, the Necron date. They're
Just
all
like how recent they are?
yeah, they're all like within like the last 500 years, and it's always just crazy.
Sorry, Necron are 60 million years old.
No, do you have any proof of that?
Yes,
No, you don't have a single proof of that.
I do.
They told you that, and you believe them. You believe your
I
overlords.
did believe it. They lied to me.
Simple human. They're brand new. They were just born.
What?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Robot babies.
Yeah, robots can't be ancient, Eric. That doesn't make any sense.
We just invented them.
All right. So the first documented contact or attack was on planet Tyran. Well, and that's where they get the name Tyranids.
Yeah, makes sense. Or is it Tyran and Tyranids?
Or Tyran and Tyranids, or Tyran and Tyranids. Doesn't matter how you want to say it, but it's definitely Tyran.
If somebody wants to count
I know, I was
how
about
many
to say,
different
your
ways,
contest.
It's
No, don't
definitely
tempt him.
Tyranids. So, and this planet, when it was found, was completely overrun and stripped of its life. It's turned into a dead world. And this
Yeah.
is a very normal thing for Tyranids to happen.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a backtrack is, years before that, decades before, exploratory fleets were sent out with these planets, and they're found, full of life and lush and full of growth or whatever. And then decades later, they'd send another probe out to these planets, and all of a sudden they're all dead worlds. So this, what?
You scared him.
he's scared.
Oh no, but that's like
He's been out of the podcast game too long.
No, I just
gotta
thought for a
boot him.
second.
He doesn't know my mannerisms anymore. He can't pick up on
social cues.
Social cues. It's
just basic
Lost.
human interaction, really.
Lost so much. But that is like they're found to be all dead worlds, and it's reported like to the whoever it gets reported to, the administratum, and they don't care about it. Right? It's
just another planet.
It's just another thing. They're like, all right, well, good to know that it was once full of life and now it's void, but moving on, I guess.
We'll look into it in 100 years when we have time.
Right, exactly. When we can send someone out there. But then the planet of Tyranid is actually stripped. And this was
It was like a Mechanicum outpost on like the
Yes.
very outer reaches of the galaxy.
Yeah, so it was actually like fortified and had like a defense post on it. So there was actually fighting going on in it, and like there's like Imperial Guard regiments. There's like a small group of like, are they Skitari?
Yeah.
The honor guard for the Magos biologists, because there was a Magos biologist on there.
It's not really an honor guard. It's just a standing army of the Mechanicum.
Okay.
Skitari.
So there's one of those. There was even like a small like fleet. I think it was like 3 or 4 like spaceships that were made to guard
Yeah,
it. So
like,
we're talking like an actual decent sized defense force, which was capable of defending against the regular Xenos that they would find in the fringes.
Yeah.
But could not handle Tyranids at all.
Yeah.
So in the scouring of Tyranid, Megos biologist Varnak, the guy whose quote I read earlier, in the last couple moments.
He live?
The last moments of his life. So no, he did not.
Dang it.
He sent out a data codex.
Yeah.
And he shot it into like the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that's the funny thing too. Like, yeah, he just like, yeah, put it hundreds of meters underground or something.
Yeah, like he like a
He hit it.
physical
Yeah.
thing, because there was no communication off the planet, and
Yeah.
no one knew why. But
Yeah.
they were just like, we're screwed.
Yeah.
So he puts this there. And then Inquisitor Cryptman shows up years later, and he's the one who actually finds this data codex detailing the invasion of Tyranid.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, like this is like a huge threat to humanity.
Yeah.
So he tries to send a warning to the Imperium, and it can't go through. He's trying to do it through the Thandros telepathic matrix.
Yeah, it's probably just some like astropathic choir.
Yeah, it's a
or
booster.
whatever. Yeah.
It's a booster that it's trying to do.
Yeah.
I can't even figure out computers, and look at him trying to figure out astropathic choirs.
Yeah, so he tries to send it using that, but he finds out like it's broken and he can't use it. So he's like, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
So then he travels to Thandros.
Yeah. Tries to figure out why it's broken, and
Right.
it was.
It's completely useless because the Thandro planet itself is also now a dead world.
Yeah, exactly.
So now he's like, oh man, like this is moving. So he fixes the matrix, and he shoots a message out to the Administratum, the Inquisition, the Ordo Xenos gets involved, and it's at this moment that he's told to go to Ultramar.
Yeah.
Because he's like, man, like this whatever it is heading towards Ultramar.
Yeah.
Go help them prepare a defense, and this is where the Ordo Xenos actually names it Behemoth.
Yeah.
They name this fleet Behemoth. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a brief history of how Behemoth's name came to be and humanity's contact with it.
Yeah. So Behemoth, on the way to like just Eden planets or whatever, they stopped by Tyran, ate all of Tyran. The next place they stopped was Jaga, and it was a planet of orc freebooters, and this orc freebooter of Buddhas had like a pretty notable fleet, and like it was known to like plague this region of space. Like it was a pretty big fleet, and it was completely wiped out, and the planet was stripped.
Yeah. The orc freebooters were actually known as the Star Krumpas. And so I like to think they were like crumping
Yes.
to the stars. Like these orcs are just like flinging their body parts around, crumping.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Jaga was decimated because of the Tyranids. Like the orcs clearly lost.
All its biomass was absorbed.
Yeah, just strengthening them as they move forward. Another noticeable thing that Behemoth stopped at was Solemnace, and I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Solemnace is actually a Necron tomb world that there were 2 tendrils, so you could call these splinter fleets even, of the Hive fleet Behemoth, and they went towards Solemnace, and then they actually actively avoided it
Yeah.
for whatever reason. because it's a Necron tomb world. But anyways, so they actively avoided it, and because they did that, they couldn't find any nutrient-rich planets.
Yeah.
So these hive fleets just went into stasis.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't afford to go on anymore because they lacked any energy.
Yeah, and they just came from like the outer reaches of space, so they're probably already low to begin with. Like,
Yeah. But it's just cool to note that they actively avoided this Necron tomb
Yeah.
world. Any other world, they'd go for it, but for some reason, they're not attacking this one.
I like how you've tried to play up like, oh yeah, the Necron are the greatest and the best. Like,
They are.
That's obviously why they're not attacking.
I mean,
Yeah.
if the shoe fits.
No, it does
or
not
in this
fit.
case, the fear.
It's probably
If the
because
fear
that world
fits.
was already a dead world.
And lacked any biomass.
Yeah.
Necron don't live on dead worlds.
Some might.
Some might.
You don't know that. You don't know that, Eric.
They live on
Do you
worlds.
know every tomb world?
Yes.
Even the idea of a tomb world seems pretty dead to me, Eric.
Usually, yes.
Yeah, but
Seems pretty dead.
but there has to be life in order for there to be death.
Oh my gosh.
What does that even mean?
And another one we're going to talk about is Sibari.
And this was a fortress world to the Renegade Space Marine chapter, the Death Shadows. And they had like a secret monastery there. I guess it wouldn't be a monastery if they're renegades.
It was. It's
might
a
be.
fortress monastery.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and they were probably completely wiped out, and the planet was completely absorbed. So who knows how like garrisoned that fortress was, but
I mean, if it's a chapter, you could. I mean, it's
but
Space
it's,
Marines, right?
it's renegade though, so
Yeah,
who knows?
But it is Space Marines,
Yeah.
and Space Marines are not
Yeah, and up until
slumps, you know.
Yeah, and up until this point, like they've been fighting Imperial Guard or whatever and eating Skitarii, nothing crazy. But like this probably was like their first like true test of like fighting Space Marines, which are completely different.
Very, very different. And then this, the next world we're going to talk about is kind of where the Ultramarine story picks up. So Prandium was a world in the Ultramar segmentum. I don't know if it's in the Ultramar system itself, but it's definitely in Ultramarine controlled territory.
Yeah.
And this planet is, quote, the jewel of Ultramar.
Yeah. It's also known across the Imperium as like a paradise world. It's known for its like crazy organic like jungles and flora. Like,
Yeah.
just being beautiful, and like it's renowned across the galaxy as like it's that valuable.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it is an agri world,
Yeah.
right? So that's has lots of like organic mass
nutrients, dense
on this planet.
soil.
So
Tasty for a Tyranid, yeah.
this is, I believe, and so the Ultramarines like suffered like a really humiliating defeat on Prandium and lost and withdrew from the planet and like gave it up to the Tyranids.
Yeah, they probably were definitely not expecting the
It's
what was there.
It's a totally new
Exactly.
threat. Like they didn't know how to counter it. And
Yeah.
the Codex obviously wouldn't have a way to counter it. They've never been encountered before by them. So
Yeah.
yeah, they obviously got their.
It was not good.
kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Ultramarines fled off the planet and doomed the planet to be devoured.
Yeah, doom the planet, and then what's his face, Calgar.
The chapter master of the Ultramarines.
Yeah,
Who was
Rem-
newly appointed at
Yeah.
that time. So it was like,
Remember his name too. We're going to be talking about him a lot in this episode.
so Calgar, because of this loss, he goes for a week without food or water. Ooh,
And what does he do?
what a sacrifice!
He just sits there,
So tough.
and that makes up for sacrificing an entire planet.
Wow. It's so funny that
Yeah.
they play it up like, oh man, like he like fasted because
Yeah.
of the loss of these people. Like he's a space marine. He can go months without
Food or
food.
Yeah,
Like it's
or,
not
or
a-
sleep or anything.
He was probably
Like,
just thinking too hard and just forgot to eat.
That's
for a week.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like
Exactly.
he was meditating in a trance-like state,
Yeah.
right? But it's just like they make it sound like he was like
another one of Calgar's mighty deeds.
Mighty feats.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, the boys in blue suck. Anyways, so after he comes out of this state, he's like, oh, this is like such a big threat that we're not ready for, so we have to change everything we do. New tactics, new like weapons and armor and everything. So he's like, he does like a little bit of an overhaul.
Yeah.
Is what it sounded like when I was reading of like the Imperial, like the Ultramarine kind of like tradition. He's like, we're gonna have to change if we want to survive.
Which is actually pretty crazy for an Ultramarine to do.
Of course, just because of like the long-standing tradition that the Ultramarines would go into. Now, after Prandium, we have the battle for Macragge, And this is where the Hive fleet really comes to a head.
Yeah, because up until this point, the Hive fleet has just been hitting planet after planet and not really facing much resistance.
Not at all.
Yeah, so it just goes to the next planet thinking everything's going to be all well and good.
Yeah, so at this point, Calgar says, no more hit and runs. We're going to make our stand.
Yeah.
So maybe he even abandons other planets within Ultramar, and he's like we're preparing specifically for the Battle of McCrae.
Yeah. So they fortify the planet. Like, it's already a Space Marine chapter homeworld, so it's already pretty fortified, but they double up the walls.
Yeah, exactly. Get more guns on the battlements. Right?
Yeah.
So the fleet is met in space combat above McCrae itself.
Yeah.
And that's where the initial battle is joined. But it's very, very quickly that mycetic spores just start raining down from the Tyranid fleet onto the planet itself.
Yeah. And as soon as these mycetic spores hit the planet's surface, they open up and out come a bunch of like Tyranid organisms.
A
swarm.
The bugs have landed.
Yeah. So Calgar and the Ultramarines, they set up on what is it called? Cold
Steel Ridge.
Yeah. And they're like, this is where we're going to fight them. And they slay like millions probably of just bugs and bugs and bugs. But they're taking casualties as well. And then...
you just can't win in a war of attrition with Tyranids.
Yeah, they can pump out way more numbers.
No matter how well you're doing, if you're still losing guys, you're still going to lose the war.
Yeah. But eventually the Hive Mind like sends one of its mightiest servants, the Swarm Lord, down to the planet to like finish this battle and take command of it.
And in like in a race of like no-name people, just bugs, generic bugs, this one actually pops up a couple times. This is actually one that has like an identity within the Hive Mind, this Swarm Lord.
Yeah. And like the Swarm Lord takes command of the battle, and then it really starts to swing in their favor. And Calgar must have taken notice of this and like went to go challenge the Swarm Lord. Like, he's seen this new contender on the field, and then the tides are slowly changing. So Calgar and his honor guard rush the Swarm Lord, and it does not end well.
No, the Swarm Lord actually just like rips through Calgar's honor guard, and
Easy
then
peasy.
Rips through Calgar's leg,
Uh-huh.
and his other leg, and his arm,
Yes.
and his other arm,
Ah.
and then one tiny eye.
Oh.
Gone.
So
But Calgar still has his teeth, so he's still in the fight.
Yeah, of course. That's all a Space Marine needs.
Yeah.
But the Swarm Lord destroys it. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't even a contest.
exactly.
Now, obviously, because it's Calgar, he's not allowed to die.
No.
According
Even
to,
after missing all his legs.
according to Games
He's a
Workshop.
Space Marine, I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
Of course he is, because he's rescued by his plot armor.
Off?
Walk it off. Shrug it off. Shrug it off. He's still got shoulders, right? So he's picked up by
Just like a Thunderhawk comes and picks him up, and like the rest of his honor guard like sacrifices their lives to like
so he can flee.
like fight off the Swarm
Coward.
Lord. Yeah, basically, yeah, he should have died.
Can't run away if you don't have any legs. I just want to point that out.
Someone dragged him kicking
Yeah.
and screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Leave me on the
screaming.
field.
But they take him to Octavius, which is one of their big
Battle
ships,
barges,
a
yeah.
battle barge,
Yeah.
like in the fleet, which is currently engaged in the Tyranid fleet in space.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if now I'm going to take over command of the space army against the Tyranids.
Yeah.
So they're doing it, but lo and behold, you can't win
No.
against these guys.
Just like on the surface, the Battle of Cold Steel Ridge goes completely in favor of the Nids, and this happens in space too.
Yeah, it's actually
There's just too
a
many.
funny thing is, there's like this cloud that seems to like surround the fleet, and like your ships have a hard time like getting through it even.
Yeah.
So there were like these the fleet they thought they were fighting. The Marines were even winning for a little bit, and so this fleet retreated back into this cloud.
Yeah.
And so the Marines are like, "Give chase! Like, we're gonna beat them!" And they push through this cloud, and then they're like, "Oh, geez." Like, we were fighting like dozens of ships. There's thousands here.
Yeah.
Like,
Is the cloud just more ships? Is
it's like a
Just
spore.
imagine, yeah, it's just
no, it's like a
spores.
spore.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's just spores. But
yeah, but it's not like ships.
Yeah, I was just thinking like thousands of tiny ships, and then you get closer and you realize those tiny ships are actually massive.
they got little mouths.
Yeah, they're just like chewing away at your ship.
Yeah.
So back when Calgar abandoned Macragge, like it allowed, like it pretty much, he conceded the surface pretty much to the Tyranids.
Yeah.
Right. So when he leaves and Cold Steel Ridge is won, it pretty much gives freedom to the Tyranids to push to either of the bastions that are on the planet. They're polar bastions.
Yeah,
on
and I
opposite
think they're
sides.
just like these huge either like orbital weapons usually, and that's why like they're pushing towards these like polar defense stations because they're like keeping the planet safe from the major invasion. And as we know about Nids, like they use their ships to basically dock with the planet, and then they have like tubes that go up.
Yeah, so if there were these
So-
massive guns,
Dock.
if there were these massive guns on the planet, those ships would never be able to come. Right.
Exactly.
So these Nids are trying to beat it, and with what's his face? With Calgar leaving, he's pretty much like giving it up to them. So now he's in space, but now he's realized he can't win the space battle either.
Yeah.
What's a boy in blue to do? Call for reinforcements.
I think the reinforcements are already
Oh,
coming.
of course, they're already coming on.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to.
He's like, now's a good time to call for reinforcements.
yeah. Now that I'm missing a couple limbs.
Yeah. So the reinforcements that he's been promised finally arrive in the space battle. And like Calgar takes a tally of all the ships and he's like, that's still not enough.
Not
Like-
nearly enough.
Like they just rallied like the entire segmentum to this specific battle, and it still was not enough ships.
And the segmentum is a huge...
Yeah. I don't know if he rallied the entire segmentum, but
Enough. Like, he called out to a lot of people. It's not
he
just, like,
called
a
out.
small-
Yeah, exactly. And he's still like,
and he has a lot of sway.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't ignore him when he's calling.
yeah. So, yeah, like they're still outnumbered. And one of the ships, do we know what it was called? The Dominus Astra, an Emperor class battleship, came up with a plan. He's like, I'm going to fly right into the center of their fleet and detonate my warp drive. And that's what he does. And it actually surprisingly works. And he ends up creating like a real space warp rift when he detonates his warp drive. And he sucks the majority of the Tyranid Hive fleet into the warp and into oblivion.
Enough to completely incapacitate the fleet.
Yeah.
So it's not the fleet entirely, because the fleet itself still exists, but it's enough so where it's a fly.
Yeah. And when we talk more about like fleet ships and stuff, you'll see how this is possible.
Yeah. So it's at that moment where the Dominus Astra sacrifices itself that now the space battle is all but won.
Yeah. And that would be a true hero. There's some people that claim that Kryptman's a hero. He is not.
Those people are correct.
Those people are wrong. And we'll get more into him a little bit. But
We have some dirt on Kryptman.
this is a true sacrifice. This is a heroic move.
So Calgar, with this space threat pretty much taken care of, Calgar returns to the surface, only to find that all of his veterans are dead.
All 100 of them.
Oh no, his first company.
Oh, womp womp womp.
sad.
Oh, don't worry.
Sad.
He'll recover in a year or two.
A
No,
year, give it a couple years.
no big deal. But
So-
I think they say it's actually 100 years.
No, it's just a couple.
No.
It like I read it. It only takes a couple years for the system and for the Marines to rebuild.
good thing those Horus Heresy chapters that suffered during the drop site massacre are still recovering, apparently.
They keep losing a lot of guys in every engagement.
They just don't have the resources that Calgar does. Anyways,
yes.
The entire first company pretty much, and they describe it as he went into this room and he found like the last Terminators or Space Marines and Terminator armor that were left alive, all back to back, and they just
died
fighting until the death.
Something Calgar probably should have done.
Right, exactly. If
Yeah.
he could have fought, which he couldn't have. But this is where they break Hive Fleet Behemoth.
Yeah. Can I just go back to that? That's such a cool image of like Space Marine Terminators like in a bunker, just fighting off endless waves
in
and
like
like
a ring.
yeah, and just like they keep falling and they
Yeah,
keep
one
falling.
more dies and the
Yeah.
circle gets a little
Yeah.
smaller, and then another one falls and it gets a little smaller. So it's just one man left.
Yeah.
And you know his psyche's probably broken, but he's
What?
a
He's
Space
a Space
Marine,
Marine, so
it's
it's
not.
fine.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Yeah.
fine.
So he fights him off for 7 days and 7 nights, and he doesn't even eat.
He's enraged by the death of his brother. He
Exactly.
becomes a better fighter.
He just
than
gets
ever.
even
Yeah.
more good. Yeah. No, that is a really cool moment. You don't really get any of those moments other than with Space Marines too.
No. I'm thinking, do Imperial Guards survive?
And you got to realize too, like they would have had like an entire planetary defense force. Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't have just been Marines fighting off
Yeah.
the TIE fleet. They would have had tons of humans that just get massacred in the middle ground.
Yeah, and even like they do take, like, the Ultramarines do take greater casualties than just 100. I think it was like 2/3 of all Ultramarines were like wiped out or something like that. It was a big number, half the chapter or something like that.
That's okay.
They
Primaris,
recover.
Primaris Marines are coming, so who cares?
That's 400 years in the future, but
Who cares?
yeah.
But yes, this is where Hive Fleet Behemoth is broken.
Yeah.
Now, it is important to note that Hive Fleet Behemoth had very little use of subtlety and tactics, and it was known for just being a spearhead and just pushing through because it had a lot of biomass, and all it was trying to do was push.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of speculation is that if they hadn't been so like wanton with like how fast they were pushing and with their no regard for their own like reserves of energy or biomass, that they probably could have done much more damage.
Yeah, just a little more on that, like on the temperament, I guess, or strategy of Hive Fleet Behemoth. Like each one of these Hive Fleets has almost a personality.
Yeah, like a
And
characteristic.
and we kind of talked about that, I think, in the last Tyranid episode. But Behemoth, it is known to like field like big, heavy monster creatures. Like that's its kind of mode of operating, and it's very aggressive, like Eric described. Like it fields the biggest, strongest units and just pushes like headlong into
Until it
whatever,
breaks through. Yeah.
Right. Whereas some Tyranid Hive fleets might be more strategic or try to attack an enemy at their weak spot.
Yeah.
Behemoth just like comes in like a hammer.
Yeah.
And some people suspect too it's part of their just the fact that they're the first Hive fleet to come from the void, that they're just like a ravenous beast, right? So they're just like hungry and not really thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they just drive for the most amount of food in the shortest path. Right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if there's a wall in the way, they'll just try and knock it over.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's ultimately like what led them to their downside. Because if they spread out more, they might have been able to survive, build up their
Yeah, or
forces
been a little more
again.
strategic.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, and also the amount of energy they invest in individual creatures. Like I said, like they field the big guys. They're fielding like Carnifex and warriors, and like
Yeah.
more frequently than other creatures, right? Which are each individually is a greater investment of energy and biomass.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lacked tactics and subtlety.
Yeah.
Is the way that I would describe Behemoth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So humanity's like, wow, we did it. We actually fought them off.
We won.
We won. We're the best.
Yeah.
Humanity, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Make humanity great again.
Yeah.
Anyways, so, and for about 200 years, humanity falsely believes that the threat of Tyranids is gone.
They thought they wiped out the whole race of Tyranids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought it was gone. And this is where the root of the next Hive Fleet comes in. So you have this entire area of space that was previously under this threat of Tyranids, and so there was a very heavy Imperial military presence in the southeastern fringe of the galaxy.
Yeah.
But after 250 years of no threat, the people start complaining, and they start saying like, "Oh, we don't want to live in like armed camps anymore." And
We don't want to be safe.
right, well, we just don't want to be. We don't want to feel like we're told what to do, and so it's whatever. No one likes to be occupied.
What? I love being occupied.
That has never been the experience of humanity ever.
It's literally my experience in my house. My house is occupied by a tyrant.
Your cat.
a poor victim.
Your potato. So nobody's enjoying it, but the thing is, it's getting increasingly like more vocal than it should be, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's like riots are starting to break out.
Obviously, the imperial governor dropped the ball with not ruling with an iron fist, keeping everybody in check all the time. But
yeah.
So they become more vocal about their situation to the point of where this brotherhood is formed. And this brotherhood is actually sanctioned by the ecclesiarchy in the end. But it attracts the attention of the Inquisition. And I believe all the brotherhood is just like a collection of people.
They're a religious cult.
Yeah.
They're-
And they prophesy that like the one
emperor-
true emperor is coming.
yeah.
Yes.
In a physical form.
Yeah.
Like, which is an important
Yeah.
Okay.
note. Yeah.
So what happens eventually is that they get such a large following, and it eventually becomes violent. Obviously, you have cult fanaticism
Yeah.
versus someone who wants to like retain martial order, right?
Yeah.
And so they eventually end up fighting with Arbites. PDF even ends
to
up
get
fighting
involved,
them, and
yeah.
then
Yeah.
even at the end, Space Marines even are involved to like quell
Yeah,
this.
it almost becomes like a
uprising.
full-blown insurrection.
yeah, like a rebellion.
Yeah.
really. So and
Yeah, and like up until the point before the Space Marines arrive, like they just think it's just like, what's wrong with these citizens? Like
Yeah.
it's just like this crazy
Well,
fanatics.
So part of that too is a lot of the administratum adepts that were working on that planet were reporting back to like, you know, the head of the administratum on Terra, and
Yeah.
they were always downplaying how bad things actually were.
Yeah.
And I'll touch on it more in a little bit, but that will become important later, where it's like all these administrative adepts are all kind of giving them the same story, like, oh, things aren't that bad, oh, don't worry about it, and it's progressively getting worse,
right.
Yeah.
and these adepts are trying to hide it for some reason.
Right, and there is a reason.
Yeah.
Right, and it's really cool. Once the Space Marines get involved, that's when fighting takes a real nasty turn, and that's when the real face of this brotherhood and this fanaticism comes up, and ta-da!
Purple
it's,
face.
It's Gene Stealers.
Yeah.
Gene Stealer cults.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had been raising a cult on this planet, and slowly infecting all the people with their insidious seed.
Speaking from personal experience there.
Eric has
It's
been
not fun. Okay.
infected. Just a quick note too. The Brotherhood actually got so out of control they assassinated the governor of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
This
at
is
one
kinda what
point, like
triggered-
they
yeah.
literally take the whole planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Gene Stealers, they take the entire planet, and then the Space Marines come in and they wipe out this cult.
Yeah.
And they're like,
There's
oh
some
my gosh.
Pretty cool images there too.
Yes.
It's like describing like Space Marine Terminators, like deep striking, like teleporting into like cathedrals and just fighting. Anytime a Space Marine's in a cathedral,
There's
killing.
going to be
It's just good
violence.
imagery.
Yeah, it's just good imagery. And they're just slaying Xenos Gene Stealers, and they end up actually killing off like every member
Yeah.
of the cult,
Exactly.
including like the cult leader, a patriarchal Gene Stealer, and it's too late though.
Yeah, but they believe that the threat is now over.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, we did it. We cleansed the planet. Everyone is free of the Gene Stealer cult now, or of the Gene Stealer taint. Like, woohoo, goodbye. Right? But years later, Kraken actually arrives at the planet, and
Yeah, this is another Hive fleet.
Yes, sorry. The next, like, a Hive fleet
Yeah.
arrives at the planet, and out of the surface of the ground, thousands of Gene Stealers burst and like help in the like the destruction of this planet. So the truth was, it was not taken care of.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And they lived and they thrived even. So it just goes to show you how deeply rooted a Gene Stealer cult actually goes, and like how difficult it would actually be to fully cleanse the planet.
And when it goes underground, it's hard to find. They went underground.
went under the ground. We couldn't cleanse it, damn it.
Yeah.
They came back.
The flashbacks.
Imperial farmer.
We couldn't do anything. But the defense of the planet is actually led by Calgar.
Oh, look who
Himself.
makes his triumphant comeback.
Yeah. He's also joined by the Lamenters and the Size of the Emperor, which are two Space Marine chapters.
Yes. An interesting thing to note is the Swarm Lord, so that same Tyranid being that kind of turned the tide on McCraig, he shows up on this planet again.
Yeah.
And this time Calgar exacts his revenge against the Swarm Lord and kills him,
Yeah.
which breaks the synapse of all the Tyranids left on the planet, and then it's just a matter of cleaning up house.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
For
revert
everyone else.
to like a feral state, and then you're
Yeah.
just like, at that point, you're just hunting animals, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no tactical thing with them. So
Yeah.
But it is also worth noting that in this battle, the Lamenters and the Size of the Emperor are destroyed.
Completely?
Lamenters are down, like they're both down to like so few numbers that they're not even trying to rebuild. I think the Lamenters are trying to rebuild it, but the Scythes of the Emperor are not. Like they have nothing left.
Mark wanted to add this part in the notes, so don't look at me like that, Christian.
Like Lamenters in current 40K are still a thing, but they
Yeah.
have like a squad. Like they're so
They're at we'll talk.
I hate
we'll
the
talk about it
way
later.
you're looking at me
We'll
because
have
it's
a
like
discussion after the
no,
podcast.
talk
No.
now. We are literally having a conversation now. Talk to me now.
Aren't they? No. It's fine. It's fine. I'm skeptical. I don't have facts.
I'm not
right
saying
now.
they're
I'd rather
completely
do-
destroyed,
Yeah.
but they are to the point where they're no longer a chapter, no longer trying to
Look,
be a chapter.
if they take 10 wounds, they're gone. That's it.
On the tabletop.
That's how they can
Yeah.
manage.
yeah. They actually took losses, though. Unlike Calgar and his
Right.
boys, it's just
right,
like,
exactly. Boys and blue are fine.
Yeah.
Blueberries, they're all
They
good.
just bounce right back.
Exactly. Just give them a couple years and they're fine. Other Imperial planets lost to Kraken in this entire thing are Sotha, Miral, Graia.
no, not Graia.
That actually scared me.
Why them?
Graia, Radnar, and then
And Radnar?
hundreds of others.
My
also.
family was on Rednar.
Except in Radnar, they came from the skies.
It's that same farmer. He just
Exactly.
keeps moving to a new planet because the last one gets wrecked and the Tyranids keep following.
So hundreds of others are actually also lost
Yeah.
to Kraken in this thing.
But somehow they're able to fight them off. So
Yes.
and that portion of the Hive fleet is wiped out.
Yeah, this breaks this portion of the Hive fleet.
Yeah.
Because there was another portion of the Hive fleet that was focusing on something else. So you had Behemoth, who had one spear point.
Yeah.
And it was just pushing, and then if it's ever stopped once, it's broken.
Yeah.
Right? But then in Kraken, they learned. They're like, okay, well, instead of having just one, let's break off in two. Let's have two
Wow.
different goals. Right?
One go left, one go right.
Exactly. And then there's twice as much chance of success, right?
I
'Cause
like
you
that
can grow on
movement
your
you
own.
got.
Twice as much. So this one, instead of going to Ikar 4, went to Iadrin, which is an Eldar craft world.
Yes.
And this is one of the largest craft worlds, actually. Well, it was one of the largest craft worlds that existed.
Yeah. And for
I
those,
read it, Christian. Don't look at me like
no,
that.
no.
that
I'm
look,
not.
hey? Is
I
it
know.
Is
This
it
is the way
just
you
a big-
pronounced it. Is it
Iadrin?
Iandin?
No,
Is there
it's
an R
a
in there?
Y. It's Iaydren.
Oh, okay.
Iadrin?
I was thinking of a different craft world.
Yeah. So Iadrin. So
For those of you who don't know what a craft world is, it's like an Eldar planet ship, essentially.
yeah.
Which you can reference on episode.
I don't know.
74.
Eldar. Go listen to the Eldar
Eldar.
episode. I think we have a craft world episode, don't we?
We loosely talk about things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You just gotta listen to the whole podcast
Soon,
from the beginning
TM.
at some point.
So Iadrin. And this one, they actually had some warning before the Tyranids invaded. Would you like to know how many days of warning they had, Christian? 20.
Oh, I was gonna say 2.
They had they had 20 days of warning
perfect.
by the Rangers. So a Rangers is just a certain class of Eldar that lives outside of the craft world and comes back every once in a while, but
Yeah.
voyages in deep space.
Yeah.
So these Rangers found out about this threat, come back to the craft world, let everyone know. They're like,
got
oh
20
shit, we've got 20
20
days.
days.
But it's worth noting that 7 days before they attacked, no communication was allowed, and that's the shadow and the warp that
Yeah,
actually showed
I also
up.
wonder too, because the Eldar are known for their like precognition, that the
Would
shadow
this
and
affect
the warp.
the Skeen?
Yeah, like they maybe didn't see it coming, and that's
Yeah.
why it's such a short notice, because they couldn't see the potential fate.
Yeah, that makes perfect
I'm
sense.
not above thinking that's
Yeah,
correct.
it's not stated anywhere, but
Yeah.
I'm just guessing based on
Yeah.
what we know.
So Farseer Kelman, he gets this warning, and he's like, oh no. He declares that every...
First, he's fired for not.
Yeah. I mean, he is a Farseer, and he didn't see this.
Didn't see this.
Look at, he's been conning everyone the whole
He
time.
wasn't really a psychic.
He's just really good at reading people. That's all. I bet you'll turn left. Oh shit, he's right. I was gonna turn
Your
left.
grandmother is trying to reach out to you.
Are you in the room? Show
with-
us.
starts
Pull
with
the string. Move something. So he declares that every single citizen on the craft world must fight
Yeah.
in order for the craft world to survive. He starts the ritual to awaken the avatar of Kayla mentioned Kane, as well as activates all the Wraith Lords, which is all the deceased souls of the Eldar are put into these Wraithbone constructs
Yeah.
to fight.
Yeah.
Which is
Everything
really cool.
that they have.
Every
is-
single thing in their arsenal that they could potentially bring,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
It's
pretty wild.
literally a fight for survival.
Yeah.
which is
And it's like the ultimate desperation for the Eldar.
Exactly,
Where
'cause
just-
if
just by
they're-
existing, they're fighting for their survival.
yeah. But if they're using like their Wraith Lords and everything,
Yeah.
that means like they're betting with the souls
Yeah.
of the deceased Eldar,
Yeah.
which is their
which means
ultimate.
that's how much they take this threat like as a real like
Yeah.
this could be the end of us. Like we need to throw everything we got at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fight starts with Tyranid fleets being put in waves and waves at
Of
their,
like, and like their total amount is like tens of thousands. So
in
like,
each wave.
yeah,
So
just
that's why
a big number.
It's so many, and it's waves and waves, and the Eldar are actually able to hold their own. But every single and this, Christian, you already mentioned this. As soon as you lose one person,
Yeah.
you're losing against Tyranids.
Yeah.
So there's even though they can hold off for a little while, they slowly just get pushed back by the sheer weight
Yeah.
of what's happening.
And this is a space battle too, by the way.
Yes, this is outside of the craft world so
Yeah.
far.
And so every now and again too, like some of these ships would break through like the ships and get to the craft world.
Yeah.
But as you say, as one ship dies, like
you
it's
can't
that,
replace the
it's
Eldar ship.
that much harder to hold
Yeah.
it.
Whereas
so
like
more,
Tyranid ships can be replaced.
yeah, so more and more ships are getting through the blockade towards the craft world.
And eventually, the Eldar fleet is destroyed
Yeah.
completely in space, and then Tyranids do what they do best. They launch their mycetic spores, which are like their version of a drop pod, if I haven't mentioned that before.
You haven't, but I have.
Okay, good. And these spores land on the craft world itself, and the real invasion starts here.
Yeah.
So this, and it's not a winning fight either.
No.
Right? Like when you have an enemy that can just send endless waves against you and you're a dying race,
Yeah.
you're pretty much going to lose all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a hopeless fight until an Eldar named Prince Iriel heard of this.
The pirate prince.
Yes, he actually was on Eadrin. He's actually from that craft world, and he had been exiled from it to like many years before.
Yeah.
And he even swore that after the exile, he was like, I wouldn't even go back if you asked me to go back.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
he's such a
turned
hard boy.
sassy.
Turns
You know, I mean,
as Eldar are known to do.
He becomes a pirate, right? So
Yeah.
he's like, I wouldn't even go back there. I'll loot it if I have to. Yeah. So,
But according to Farseer Kelbor's plan, Kelmor's plan,
Yes.
he banished him. Only to give Uriel.
He doesn't not get at this foresight thing.
Oh no! This is where his foresight comes true.
Oh, okay.
Because Uriel comes back and he's been a pirate now for centuries.
And he has a massive fleet.
Yeah.
Like he's like
And,
a pirate king, really.
Yeah, and like they have like probably one of the best fleets in the galaxy. Like they're quick, they have all these good space tactics, and they come back and they arrive at Elandrin. How do you guys say it?
Eadrin, the Eldar craft world.
Yeah. And they're able to actually destroy the entire Tyranid fleet.
Yes, but it is cool to know how they do that.
How do they do that?
So what he does is sorry. You're talking about the fleet right
Yeah.
now, not in the craft world. So
Yeah.
yes, you are 100% correct. Uriel's Corsair fleet actually, I don't know what you're showing me.
Is that the plan? Is that the craft world?
Eandin?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes.
Let me
That
see.
is- isn't it?
And then I'm saying it wrong this
Yeah,
whole time.
that's what I was wondering this whole time. I'm like, that sounds a lot like another craft world. Eandin?
All right,
There's no
fine.
R in there.
Fine.
That's what I was...
I don't know. Look, a little bit of dyslexia came through as I was reading and writing this. Cut me some slack. All right.
But just so
Eandin.
people know that that's what we're talking
Yes,
about. Because
Eandin.
Eandin is a big craft world where there's...
Yeah.
They have fans, Eric. You're offending those fans. And we're going to get angry hate mail.
If you like the Eldar, you can go suck one.
Here,
Fruit. So, Prince Iriel and his Corsair fleet destroys the entire Tyranid fleet. Like,
Yeah.
apparently it's a very decisive victory for
Yeah.
them. But it's unfortunate because the fight is already so heavy on the craft world itself, it's just slowly being destroyed.
yeah.
So then he's like, I've taken care of the space threat, so now it's time to go take care of The people.
You, the people.
You.
So he goes to the planet. He takes care of them all.
He does.
One by one.
He swaddles them.
Loves
he
them.
makes sure that they're fed. He spoon feed. He baby bird them.
Baby birds.
Baby birds them. Mama birds.
Mama bird,
He mama
baby
birds
bird.
them. Just here's some food for you.
Elder have such high culture.
An interesting thing to know about Yandin is that there was a Hive tyrant on that craft world, and it was actually leading the forces.
Yeah.
As Tyranid, they need like a strong creature to synapse everyone around them,
Yeah.
or else they just turn into their feral creatures and they're easy to clean up. So there's a Hive tyrant, and it was said that like no Eldar weapon seemed able to like pierce its hide or whatever. It was just such a powerful beast.
Yeah.
So the Avatar shows up, and the Avatar's like, "You like single combat right now." He like challenges it because the Avatar is like the only one who is going to be capable of beating it.
Which
Yeah.
is like a god construct. Like,
Yeah, the Avatar
just
is
for
like a
listeners.
shard of Eldar god power.
it's powerful,
Oh yes.
at least in theory.
Oh
In
yes.
theory, yes. In lore, not so
Gets its ass kicked
much.
multiple times.
Well, yeah, and because so the Hive Tyrant. So it was funny when I was reading it. It was like the Avatar challenged the Hive Tyrant to single combat, but Tyranids, having no sense of honor, the Hive Tyrant, instead of accepting the challenge, summons a dozen Carnifexes to go play with the Avatar.
Maul it to death.
Yeah, and the Avatar then is taken care of, and the
Yeah,
Hive
gets
Tyrant's like,
trampled to death.
yeah, Hive Tyrant's like, cool, and keeps moving on. So Prince Uriel shows up, and he is convinced, persuaded, tricked
No, helped.
by, I'm talking about the Shadow Seer.
No,
right
I know.
now.
Why would it be anything but helped?
Because it kills you to use this.
So?
Oh, you don't see that as a downside, I guess?
No, I value heroes that sacrifice themselves
Yes.
as opposed to sacrificing billions of others
Right, okay.
as heroic.
So
No.
this Shadow Seer...
That's a very narrow view of heroism.
her name is Shadow Seer Salandri Veilwalker.
We don't do it this way anymore. Is that what they say in Star Wars? We don't sacrifice? What's that dumb bitch say?
I don't know. I never watched that.
Oh, okay.
You've seen...
I saw pieces.
This is the one
You
quote.
didn't see the latest movie?
No, it's so bad, man.
How are you supposed to hate on it if you haven't seen it?
Because I've seen
though?
enough of it that I
No,
didn't want
you
to continue.
don't fully understand how bad it is.
One day,
telling you.
one day when I want to waste that much part of my life, I will.
When you're willing to lose that many brain cells.
Yes.
Okay, so there is a Harlequin, the Shadow Seer Salandri Veilwalker. She's actually on that craft world, and she convinces Prince Uriel to pick up the Spear of Twilight.
Such an Eldari name.
Oh, so cool. What's interesting
What does
about
it
the
do?
spear,
It harnesses Twilight. Twilight
false. It
sparkle.
actually eats your life force.
Ah.
And the interesting thing is it also eats your immortal soul.
That's your life force.
Right,
the same
but
thing.
there's a difference between like an Eldar's body,
Like
can
your
die.
energy, yeah. Like you get aged and you're like a little
Right, that's one
frailer.
thing. But if your actual soul is being consumed,
yeah.
that's a completely another thing for Eldar, because their souls are supposed to be immortal.
So hold on, I'm just gonna pull before we continue with this one. I'm just gonna pull a page out of the Imperial Tactics. What they should do is fly their craft world into the middle of the Tyranid fleet and detonate its warp drives.
Yes. That would do it.
Achieving
they don't
supreme
have
victory.
warp drives.
I know.
Oh,
Also, they've already wiped up the fleet at this point.
yeah, the fleet's destroyed, Christian.
Fuck.
I wasn't
Gosh.
paying attention.
Ugh.
So, this spear, it drains his life, but it allows him to kill that Hive Tyrant with a single thrust.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful weapon, and it turns
Yeah.
out later that it's a crone sword, and
There's
it's
a bunch of details.
yeah, there's so much. What?
Nothing.
Don't act like you're gonna talk and then not talk, Christian.
It's better than when he like raises his hand like, I have a point.
Yeah, right,
Can
like-
I talk? Like,
That's
or when he shows you a page and he's like, what about this? It's like a whole 4,000
like,
word
read
piece.
Read this right
real
now.
quick before you say the next sentence. Before you screw up.
So he kills this Hive Tyrant in a single blow, which ends the synapse, which we've seen multiple times. This is how you do it. You kill the head of the snake, and you clean up the rest of it. So he kills this Hive Tyrant, the rest of the fleet, done. So that is the other portion of Hive Fleet Kraken that has now been destroyed.
Yeah.
Now, when we say this, please understand that there are many tendrils of these fleets that still exist.
Yeah.
Like the main force of these Hive fleets are gone, but they still exist.
There's all these splinter fleets still that travel
growing and fighting and
Yeah.
trying to eat because they're hungry.
Yeah.
Little guys.
Hungry little guys. But yeah, that's kind of what happens to Kraken.
So one is stopped on Ikar 4, one is stopped on Eandin.
I really like it because it shows Gene Stealer infestation and how it works. We didn't really get into the whole details of it, but
That's okay, because when we actually do a Gene Stealer cult episode, that's
Yeah.
when we
We'll
can
get
really
to the
talk
real
about
details.
but the one detail is the Gene Stealer patriarch, like the leader of the Brotherhood, the leader of the Gene Stealer cult, like actually sent like a psychic signal to Hive Fleet Kraken to come to this planet saying it's ready to be harvested.
Yeah, once the cult feels that they've infiltrated enough, they signal whatever fleet they're from, and it sends the fleet over.
Yeah, so this just shows like now that the Nids have like adapted a little bit, where they're using these Gene Stealers now to like weaken their targets before they're attacking them. Unlike Behemoth, where it's just like
A battering
straight
ram.
in.
Yeah. Which does play exactly into like the personality type of Kraken, which was like insidious and tactical. Right? So unlike Behemoth, they started to develop strategies. When they fight, they try to pinpoint enemy weak spots. They try to hide and be covert and to utilize Gene Stealer cults to soften targets before attacking. So that also plays into maybe how they were destroyed by investing into that single synapse organism, because they were so tactically driven that once you lose that kind of chain of command and that structure, you collapse.
Yeah, all their plans are
Yeah.
for nothing, and they don't have numbers to win, to
Exactly.
carry.
Up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or big creatures, or
So, 4 short years after Kraken is dealt with,
And did we say? I don't think we said like between Behemoth and between Kraken, it was 250 years.
250.
Oh yeah, we did say that.
We did.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's okay. So 4 years after Kraken, Leviathan shows up. And now this is the biggest and the greatest Hive fleet yet. And where the other two are approaching from like the galactic east and southeast, this one's actually attacking from the lower plane.
Yeah.
So if you imagine it like the Milky Way is like a dinner plate, it's attacking from below the dinner plate and coming up.
Nom, 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 nom.
Leviathan's main tactic is to break into 2 large tendrils that are hundreds of light years apart and spread its shadow of the warp across entire systems. So it's like it's like a pincer. Think of a pincer, but anything between the pincers has been cut off from
and
anything
then
outside.
Can no
the
longer
pincer.
send for reinforcements or get help, and
Just
just-
the warp just doesn't work for some reason.
Yeah.
Inside that area.
and then they're easily like eaten pretty much.
Exactly.
As the 2 main fleets push inwards, the planets on the inside slowly get sucked up too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's their tactic this time. And one tendril is headed directly for Terra, but it's halted at Tarsus. And the other is stalemated in the Octarius War.
Yeah.
Now, if you guys remember about Behemoth, which was the first one we talked about, Cryptmin is the Inquisitor responsible for pretty much saving the Ultramar system.
You're giving him an lofty.
In that one, he's
lofty
the one-
title.
He found the data codex.
Oh yeah, because
And
they
he
wouldn't have
sent the
realized
warning.
that there's this
Inquisitor
big.
Cryptman, hero of the Imperium.
Yeah.
Well, for now.
Because
For
if
now.
he didn't warn them, they would have all been like, "Ooh, I guess."
We only had 20 days to prepare.
Yeah. Ooh. Fuck Cryptman.
Anyways, but what's crazy is 255 years later, he's still around.
Yeah.
Well, Inquisitors have like money and power enough that they can pay for like rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation? Rejuvenation?
They got some eye cream that
They
takes away
get some
that.
really powerful eye
Get rid
cream.
of those crow's
Wrinkles.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the ones on Tarsus Ultra.
So this was besieged for a couple weeks, but the battle was a losing one. What happened was the Ultramarines, they're everywhere apparently. They do all, whenever there's a Nid invasion, even if it's across a galaxy, the Ultramarines are there.
Of course, bud.
So Captain Ventress and a Death Watch team, their plan was to capture a lictor, and they succeeded in capturing one during like the battle on the planet. And they took it to a Magos, and his name was Locard, and he reversed engineered the lictor's genetic DNA and create a biological plague that would send the Tyranids into a rampant evolution, killing it. So just like keep evolving, and like just sporadically, and it'd end up killing it. So now that they have this like biovirus, they form a kill team, a Deathwatch kill team, to infiltrate like a Hive ship and deliver this virus right to the Norn Queen herself, like the lead Tyranid synapse creature.
The one who's telling everyone else in this like Hive fleet tendril what to do.
Yeah.
So
And
they're successful, which is the crazy thing to me.
yeah, like they somehow get through like thousands of ships directly to this one ship that's leading billions of organisms, and they deliver the virus, and it works, and the whole fleet like starts to like mutate out of control, and it's wiped out.
Yeah, it's again.
Yeah.
Cut the head off the snake.
Yeah.
Rest is just cleanup.
Having said this, so like before that, hundreds of planets probably fell.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
Like during like when the pincer is actually coming up from Leviathan.
Yeah.
Like everything is dying.
Yeah.
It's just this is where
Yeah.
they decided to make their stand on Tarsus Ultra.
Where they finally got the idea or whatever happened, but
Yeah. So that is one tendril of Leviathan is stopped.
yeah.
The other one, this is where Kryptman shows his true colors.
It's a hero.
So
That's a
Galactic
hero. No.
Kryptman creates what's called a galactic cordon, and so what he's trying to do is he's trying to create a fire break where if there's already a lot of dead worlds in front of the Tyranids, they will not be able to replenish any of their energies or biomass that they've expelled in order to get there.
Yeah.
So it really would slow them down. So
Yeah.
they can't get any energy.
Also, Tyranids are known for having like a slow fleet. Like it's not like Imperium where they have warp drives where they can literally warp across the entire galaxy. Like Nids have to be in real space at all times, going from planet to planet. So when they do come across these dead worlds and they get nothing out of it, it actually does.
It's such a waste for them.
Yeah, because then they have to travel thousands of light years to the next planet.
Yeah, exactly. So what he did is he exterminatised many Imperial worlds in the direct path of this second tendril of the Hive fleet.
So many, like one or two?
No, hundreds.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Hundreds of worlds. And some weren't even evacuated.
No, there's no time, apparently. They didn't even give them the 20-day warning.
So this did remove any source of food and energy that the Tyranids might potentially use, but he killed billions of Imperial citizens
To save
in
trillions,
in the
Eric.
largest genocide since the Horus Heresy. Would you ever want to be compared to like the darkest time in humanity? Like you have Horus and then Kryptman.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to be on that list?
He did what no one else had the guts to do.
No.
He is
That's not a way to
the
win.
Thanos of
What?
40K.
Do not try and
He-
anti-hero this.
he
That is
is-
terrible. Thanos is not a good guy.
What are you talking about? The whole movie I was rooting for him. I don't. Did I get it wrong? Did I get the story wrong? I thought he was a superhero. I thought he was the Avengers.
Odd.
Thanos the Avenger. That's his title.
He's avenging the universe.
Yeah.
No, Kryptman is not a good person. And after this act, he's actually stripped of his title and wealth by the Inquisition.
But you know what he can never be stripped of?
His pride.
No.
He's like Osmondius.
When he did this,
saving so many people.
he got somebody behind him in a deep voice was like, killing spree. And that can never be taken. Invincible. And that can never be taken away from him.
No, of course not. He just replays that over and over in his head.
Yeah.
Well, he's stripped from the Inquisition by a Carta Extremis, which I think is like one of the highest like levels of no-goes that the Inquisition will do.
Yeah.
He's branded as a radical and a traitor.
Fair enough.
And here's, as terrible as what he did is, killing billions of people and
Save trillions.
and doing a mass genocide, it did slow the fleet
Oh,
down.
So it worked.
That does not mean it's
It worked.
okay.
Yeah. It's one thing to sacrifice yourself, but then to sacrifice other people,
Well,
not
but if Kryptman
acceptable.
killed himself, he wouldn't have slowed down the
is it
fleet,
okay-
right? Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, I'm just saying if he went to every planet, had a waiver, got people to sign the waiver, I'd be
Are
okay
you
with
okay
it.
with giving up all your billion
It's
lives?
Goku asking for spirit energy for his spirit bomb. He has to ask.
Exactly.
okay? No, if your cause is just, Christian, and if you're like, I need an army, but I need a lot of armies, so you put guns in the hands of 4-year-olds, even though your cause is just, does that make it okay?
I didn't know this is the Moral Paradox podcast, but okay.
I'm just asking you, is that okay?
We'll talk about this later.
Don't admit to that over the podcast. Okay.
We need to arm our babies.
We can't stop at teachers. Now it's babies.
If all the children were armed, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Every single child needs a weapon in America. All right, okay. So he's completely slowed them down to a crawl, it says. And now he can work out another tactic. And his other tactic...
It's brilliantly stupid.
You know what? I actually think it's really cool initially.
Yes.
How he does it. So him and... I can't remember if it's Marines or something else, but him and like a group of people.
Yeah, some Death Watch guys.
It is Death Watch. Okay.
Yeah.
So they go capture Gene Stealers and they put them in stasis. And it does say he incurs heavy losses while he does this.
Yeah.
So he goes and captures some Gene Stealers and he impregnates them on... No, that's a terrible word. Implants. That's a way better word.
Releases even.
He impregnates Gene Stealer.
I had an image of the Space Hulk being the egg,
I had a different
and then
image.
his ship being like the needle that's going to inseminate the egg, and then the...
I just had an image of them impregnating
Butt
Gene
fucking.
Stealers.
Yes. Classic hillbilly butt fucking. Come here, goat.
He gets these Gene Stealers, and he plants them on this Space Hulk, which he then flies towards the Orc Empire of Octarius.
Yeah.
Which is something you guys talked about a little bit in the last episode.
Yeah, so go back and listen to that if you haven't already. It was at the very end of the episode. Maybe listen to like the last 30 minutes, but it gets really cool.
So this Gene Stealer infestation, which he has now artificially created by putting these Gene Stealers on this planet.
Another heroic move.
Yes.
Which
yes.
I actually really think this is a cool tactical move. It's just there's zero foresight involved in it.
Yeah.
You don't need foresight when you're a hero. You just act. You act impulsively and recklessly and save as many lives
Christian,
as you can through
please
violence.
never save me. I would rather die than see the consequences of your actions.
So, Christian, you wanted to be a policeman?
No.
Is that correct?
No, not at all.
Sorry,
You're
are you
also in the
army?
reserves right
You're in
now?
the army? Is that?
I neither admit or deny any of these allegations. No, I don't think he's a hero. I'm just. It plays into like the morally gray. Of,
It
of
definitely
40K.
is.
That's a cool.
It is the whole save a billion,
Yeah,
or kill a
sacrifice.
billion to save a trillion, and that is the theme that's played over.
What
and
about
over
save a
in this.
billion for $1 million? Not okay?
Or save
Kill
one
a billion for $1 million? No,
Yeah.
that's not okay.
Oh.
There's so many ways to play up the.
So this,
And I'm not in favor.
What about just killing
I'm not a
Eric?
utilitarian. I think killing Eric is actually the best thing we could do for humanity.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's good to know that I'm a threat. So this Gene Stealer infestation takes hold in this empire and is able...
In this Orc Empire, yeah.
Yeah, and it actually turns the Hive fleet's attention. So this Gene Stealer cult's like, oh my gosh, so much biomass.
Yeah.
Signal the motherships! And so then the Leviathan... this is Leviathan, right? That
Yep.
we're on?
Yep.
Okay.
Leviathan comes and goes directly for
This-
the Empire of Octavius.
Yes,
Octarius.
Octarius.
And it's a huge Orc Empire. So,
Yeah. So-
when the Tyranid Hive fleet reaches the system,
So the fleet arrives at planet Gorola.
yeah,
And every orc vessel within 12 light years shows up to fight it.
that doesn't seem very far.
12 light years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely that's an entire system,
Yeah.
definitely, plus other little places outside of it.
It's not very far.
But think of orcs. Just
Yes,
think of how
yes.
closely compact they are.
So sometimes the numbers in 40K don't quite match up. So let's
no,
just
the
say
scale of it is sometimes weird.
let's bump this one up to something more reasonable.
Light years. Many, many light years.
Yes, exactly.
So they all show up to fight. That combining with apparently a very extensive space minefield that was set up, all but destroys the entire Hive fleet. So this Orc
Everything.
empire is so big and powerful that an entire tendril of Hive Fleet does not even remotely stand a chance.
Yeah.
It also helps that they were slowed down by the fire break that Cryptman had made.
Yeah.
Shut up,
Says
Christian.
subtly. No, I told you I'm not a Trinitarian.
But it does also show you how crazy this Orc Empire really was.
But unfortunately for the orcs, one ship manages to escape and sends its mycetic spores onto the planet Gaia or
Gorola.
Gurola, and like starts to like rebuild, and like it's like
All
super
it takes
secret.
is just the one.
Yeah, and it doesn't even take a long time. And eventually, like they get to the point where they're regrowing new ships off this planet.
So I read it within weeks. This Tyranid ship has completely eaten every single orc on the planet Gorola. Within weeks.
Yeah.
They've gone over an entire planet.
And this was
Do you
just
know how
like
long it would
one
take
ship.
you to walk a planet?
Once. Oh, that's
It would
not
take
really.
a very long time. One. It would take me one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. And then at this point, they start to they grow bioships.
Yeah.
Which
And-
takes them to other planets within the Octarius Empire.
Yeah. And then they start fighting there. And then they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
But then the orcs realize what's going on.
So
they're
then
like,
they,
hey, we gotta show them what's up.
Yeah.
So then the orcs show up. And then they start fighting. And now they're losing. And they're like, oh man, this is a big threat. Let's get bigger.
We need more orcs.
So they grow bigger. So
Yeah.
they can fight this threat off. And it's a stalemate.
Yeah.
Really is what it is. So now there's a constant battle happening between these Tyranids that are trying to grow enough so they can spread, and the orcs that are just having a grand old time.
Yeah.
And they're just getting bigger because this threat is huge. And it's compounding upon itself.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And Cryptman ends up like looking at this conflict, and he just is like,
What have I done?
what have I done? Because he realizes if either one of these sides wins,
It is now such a powerful
Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is just gonna kill trillions.
exactly. So initially he succeeded in moving, like deterring the Hive Fleet Leviathan, and now he's had a little bit of like, oh shit time, and realized how terrible this plan actually really was.
yeah.
Another thing to note about Hive Fleet Leviathan. Oh, sorry. I guess that's where that other tendril is ending in a stalemate.
Yeah.
So there's one is ended at Tarsus, one is ending in Octarius.
Yeah.
Hive Fleet Leviathan, it actually had a lot of tendrils, and it continues to fight and like ravage the galaxy. But its main goal of creating its shadow in the warp,
Yeah.
it seems to have been halted, and slowly that shadow is actually receding.
Yeah.
And planets are being brought back into the Imperial communication fold.
And it just kind of shows again, like the Tyranids evolving. Like they try one thing in the first time, a different thing in the second time, and now they're trying something else.
Yeah, now they're actually using their abilities to try and cut people off. And
Yeah.
so it only begs the question of what happens with the next Hive Fleet that
Exactly.
shows up, right?
Yeah. I know another big thing that people will say about Hive Fleet Leviathan is that huge campaign that they do against Baal and the Blood Angels. We'll talk about that eventually, but
And we do a Blood Angel episode.
yeah. But like that was just like a splinter fleet of Leviathan.
Yeah,
it wasn't
it-
like the main fleet.
It's really big for Blood Angels, but it's actually not that big for Tyranids
Yeah.
in what happens.
Yeah.
So suck on that, Blood Angels.
Ain't no Ultramarines.
There's a lot of Space Marine hate on this episode.
because they're the worst. Ever since Primaris came out, I'm off them.
We're not
all
even
hail
talking
the
about them,
Primaris
and all of a
Marines.
sudden we're back into the Primaris hate. Not even talking about Space Marines or the Imperium in this episode.
I'm an Imperial Knight guy. No.
I'm a Necron guy.
Christian, you're
An orc guy.
something.
Filthy Octarius, man. So that pretty much describes the three main Hive Fleets that have existed and what they've done
Yeah.
throughout the Milky Way.
Of course, there's other ones like there's Hive Fleet Kronos, Hive Fleet Jakomandar, there's Hive Fleet
What's the cannibalistic one?
Hydra.
Hydra.
There's a bunch of other Orphelius, like the
Ouroboros, yeah.
Ouroboros,
but most of like these are splinters of like the
Of
main
the
ones.
main ones.
Yes.
The main three are, and the three Tyrannic Wars are the
Yes.
main
Yeah.
That's
ones that we
these
just
three
talked
ones.
about.
Exactly.
Everyone else is kind of a secondary player when it comes to
Yeah.
Tyranids. So let's talk about a little bit of the Hive Fleets themselves and how they are kind of constructed.
Yeah, because like Hive Fleets are actually made out of living Tyranids. Like
Their
Hive-
ships are a Tyranid.
Exactly. They're no
Creature.
more or less a Tyranid than like a Termagant or a Carnifex or anything like that, which makes it really wild. Like, because when we talk about some of the scales of these ships, we're talking about kilometer-long creatures that just float in the
Void.
You gotta wonder, like, do they have like blood vessels?
I'm sure they have like whatever biological, like they probably have nerves and blood vessels and like little areas where creatures can crawl around inside them, and it's kind of gross.
like, so a whale, like you can swim through like the capillaries of a whale, right? That's how big they are. So could you imagine like a ship this big?
Yeah.
Like its blood vessels would be bigger than your house.
Do you ever play Gears of War? Where you go inside the
Oh, yeah.
snake thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to think. You can like run around inside, and like that's what these kill teams sometimes do, is infiltrate ships and do cool stuff.
Yeah.
Mark, stop playing footsies with me. It's weird.
Just missed you. So the first Hive ship that we're talking about
Before this gets too real.
is it's called a Hive ship, and it's the biggest ship in the fleet, and like it's its heart, it's its central ship, and most fleets will only have one of these. Like I'm sure Leviathan, some of these bigger Hive fleet.
Well, yeah, there's
Hive
two tendrils to Leviathan. It probably had at least two of these ships,
if
right?
not more. Like
Right.
sometimes they'll have more depending on how big the fleet is. Like it might be prepping to make a tendril, so you might have two
Right.
while it's building up enough. But usually, yeah, there's not a lot of these. And they act also as nodes of the hive mind. So they're like controlling the fleet. Like this is its brain.
So this is where you would find the Norn Queen.
Yeah, exactly. Also, this ship spawns the vast majority of the Tyranid hordes. So like, it's its heart. Like
Yeah.
without this, the Tyranid fleet is worth nothing.
Yeah, because if you can't rebuild with this fleet, then you're just slowly gonna die off.
Yeah, and if you don't have synapse, you can't do nothing.
You
so,
can't unify.
Yeah.
Unite.
So it's covered in stone-like armor and has dense weapon clusters, and it's very slow and not agile at all. Like it's just this huge like
Whale.
yeah.
Pondering.
One thing to note
Space
too.
whales.
Yeah, one thing to note
Actually,
too.
they do exist. We'll have an episode on that too.
Yeah, the orcs have a cool picture of a space whale. Here lies questions.
I don't know.
Guys, I'm right here. I can hear you talking.
But a lot of these ships that we're going to be talking about actually have models or pictures of them. So go check them out.
In like Epic?
No, in Battlefleet
Battlefleet
Gothic.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yes.
They look like what they look like are giants
Sperm.
squids. Or that.
Squid, slugs, like there's a kind of a bunch of different shapes.
Yeah, the first like the older ones, they look like giant squids. I think that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah, some of them even look like mantas. Like
Yeah.
there's a kind
they
of
have like a very sea creature kind of
yeah.
appearance.
Yeah, but it's very large and it's like the equivalent of an Imperial battleship. So like
Which is huge.
yeah, like it's like 8 kilometers or something. Like
I don't know the exact measurements, but it's
I think
in
it
the range of
changes.
kilometers.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just this huge, massive ship that just spawns things and controls the entire fleet. We also have what are called Tyranid cruisers. When I read these, some of these the ship names are like super creative, and others are like, oh, that's just gonna be a Tyranid cruiser. Like,
We've run out of animal names.
yeah, where others are like Krakens or narvals.
Narwhals.
Narwhals.
The most feared tyrant creature.
So these Tyranid cruisers are arguably the largest threat in the Tyranid fleet. What's crazy about them is they're not a synapse creature, so if you lose one, it's not a big deal. But this also makes them highly expendable and highly aggressive. And they're known for just having like huge acid maws, and they fly towards enemy ships and they just spit acid. And they also have like either pincers or tentacles on them, and they're just like start hitting the ship like
That's
physically.
just so crazy to
Like think
of.
about that. Like,
yeah.
and these things too are like kilometers long.
Yeah.
Like
wild.
yeah, and they probably have like nids that are like
that's a
on
big
board.
I'm gonna jump on its back.
Yeah, they have.
Gotta show it who's boss.
Ride it to the sun. Yeah. But they probably have like boarding ships of Hormigons and stuff. So when they like,
Well, you gotta-
take a bite out of it,
Yeah,
they
that's what I was
release
wondering.
like a bunch
what
of
if he
creatures.
like latches on?
Yeah.
Like, and then his like throat just like vomits into the ship or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, It's kind of crazy, actually.
Very organic.
There's a bunch of different patterns too. Like some are like razorbacks, and some are razor maws, and some are, they have a bunch of
Razor
different.
pincers.
But most of these razor pincers, yeah, most of these like have a huge bioacid cannon, and they like lash it or pinch it to death, like enemy ships to death.
Pinch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pincer it. We also have Krakens, and these are relatively small and act as escorts. Wow. Escorts and scouts.
Escorts.
Yeah.
I wonder how expensive they are. You think they have good conversation?
No,
You think they'll dress up for me?
no. They'll eat your brains, I guess.
Oh.
And they
I'm
operate
lonely.
Don't you have a girlfriend? I don't want to hive shit. They operate in giant swarms and are often birthed during battle. And
cool.
like, yeah.
It's so poetic. It's like life and death all at the same time.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's a dumb life quote that Eric said earlier. There's different types of these, but most of them involve just ramming enemy ships or like hitting them with tentacles or taking bites out of them. But like what's crazy about them is there's just so many that whenever you get close enough to like the Hive ship, they all just like swarm around and like
it would just jam like your communications.
Yeah.
It'll jam
Like-
your air vents or whatever.
yeah. I don't think they're that small. They're still big,
Yeah.
but
But it like if something's like coming in swarms, like it's gonna ram you.
yeah. But like even if you shot like a missile barrage at like a Hive ship, these ones would go and intercept
Just
and like
absorb it.
yeah. So we also have drone escorts, and they are heavily armed and super slow. But these are the last line of defense for the Hive ship.
Okay.
They'll be super close to it, and anything that gets past all these
Are so past
the Krakens or whatever.
are supposed to be shot down by these guys.
yeah, exactly. Or if any missiles get by, they're heavily armored and they're going to absorb like the blows.
Right.
We also have Vanguard drone ships, and these are long-range scout ships of the Hive fleet. They'll actually go and find suitable planets and infect them in gene stealers. So they're sent out. Yeah, they're sent out like across the galaxy, really, and just they seed these planets with gene stealers. They don't really return home ever, but
Why
they
would
do.
you need to?
Yeah, they do on occasion, but it's pretty rare. Like you'd have to be in the same system already. You know?
Yeah, I wonder if at some point, like, so anyone who's piloting these Vanguard drone ships or
Nothing.
like on there,
Like it's
They're
a living
alive.
creature.
It's a
Like nothing pilots it.
okay, sorry, but so the Vanguard drone ships, like, what if they're like, oh man, we got like a good new upgrade from this last thing, like call all our drone ships back so we can like absorb them and make new
Yeah,
ones?
exactly. Like they'd have to find something very key in like a genetic strand or something like that they would have to actually physically bring back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of them. We also have narvals, and these are the crazy ships. We've mentioned them before.
We have, yeah.
But they allow the fleet faster than light travel, and they're super tiny. Like who knows what super tiny is? They're probably still a kilometer long. Like
Super tiny.
super tiny. But like the whole front of them is just covered in these like sensory apparatus and like quills and stuff. And they'll also have no weaponry on them. They're just covered in these like sensory quills. And what ends up happening is they have sensors that can detect the gravitational fields of faraway planets and lock onto them, creating kind of like a some kind of slipstream or like gravitic slipstream.
Yeah, it's like a magnet thing. It's really weird.
Yeah, they don't exactly get into the science of it because
Well,
it's not.
it's Tyranid technology, so
Yeah.
how could humanity even hope to understand?
But they somehow open up this corridor that allows the entire fleet to like get into it and creates like a faster than light travel. But what's wild about this is like this ship is literally locking onto like planets like magnetic fields or like gravity, and it ends up sending that planet's like gravity into crazy flux. So like you'll get like the planet like years before an invasion even gets to it will like suffer like earthquakes,
it's
volcanoes.
like cataclysmic.
Yeah, like
Yeah, like tectonic plates are shifting, volcanoes, like their polar ice caps
Tidal
are
waves are-
melting,
yeah.
they're going through ice
Oh.
ages.
Is that what's happening to Earth right now?
might be.
We have to warn people.
The Tyranids are coming.
But yeah, like this without this they would not be like super dangerous. But I'm sure they can just regrow them, so it's not like you could just go into the fleet and just shoot them down and be like, haha, now you're trapped
Right, exactly.
here. Like,
Anything here can just be rebirthed.
yeah, except for Hive ships.
Sure, that one
You
just
need
would
a-
take a lot more.
You need a Hive ship, I think, to birth a Hive ship. Not
That's a
necessarily.
conundrum. What
Well,
came
when
first?
a mommy hive ship and a daddy hive ship.
Yeah, I guess.
really love
What
each
came
other.
first, the chicken or the egg?
Or what
cock.
if there's a finite number of hive ships?
I don't know. Maybe there is.
No.
Maybe.
That's,
You don't know that.
well, no, like
I mean, like,
there
there's
might
so many.
there
and
there might
like,
even be
I think that,
no, there's
I
not a
think that-
finite number because like hive ships can birth other hive ships.
Is that stated anywhere?
Yeah, that's how they create new hive ships.
So
that's how they
Well, then
create
how's
like.
this even a question? Why are we even asking this?
because
No,
where
I'm-
did the first hive ship come from?
Obviously from a Tyranid gaunt. It's like a giant circle.
Well,
It's
no,
a circle of life, Eric. Have you ever heard of it?
like probably like the genetic code for that ship is within every single thing that can create something, and as soon as you have enough biomass and enough energy, it will just birth it. It's like I kind of see it as like an orc thing. Like if you need it and you have what's available,
Yeah.
you'll get it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
the Tyranid's a lot more targeted.
Yeah.
The orcs are a lot more. Oh, now me like a gun.
yeah. So another ship that they have are called rebirth vessels, and these ones are weird. They usually like once again they're super small. But what is super small? What?
All I can think of is the Superman ship with like the where they make the Doom. What's his face? What's the new
Doomsday?
Superman? Superman versus Batman, and they make
Doomsday.
Doomsday in that like pool.
Yeah.
That's what I think of this ship is. It's just a big ship with a pool in it, and it's for rebirthing ceremonies. The Tyranids come to be reborn. You walked in a gaunt. Now walk out a termagant. All right, I'm done.
But they're tiny and they usually like hide around like the hive ship's underbelly or shadow, and
Okay.
like they're not a combat craft at all. But they also don't rely on like the psychic field or like the synapse of the hive ship, and
So they operate with some kind of individuality.
yeah, which is very unique for any of the hive ships, like
Mm-hmm.
because it has its own. It's actually said to like generate its own synapse, which none of the other ships do this. They all rely on the hive ship, and what it will end up doing, it will, like when a planet is invaded, it will like go into the atmosphere of the planet and drop off like creatures like the Swarm Lord. It'll drop off like notable commanders of the
Like a
Tyranid
one
force.
eye.
Yeah, sure.
Old one eye.
Bad example, but sure.
Why is that a bad example?
Because he's lost on a planet.
He's alive. He's kicking.
Yeah, he's alive doing his thing, but yeah, like, and like its sole purpose I think is like to hoard like or to have like the genetic DNA of like these commanders and just hold on to it. For some reason, these are kept separate than the rest of the Tyranid
But it
creatures.
can't be only that though, because one of the reasons that Tyranid commanders are so dangerous, it's that they know what killed them and they're
Yeah.
able to counter that. So that's not going to be just genetic. Because if the commander is killed,
Yeah, like
on
it
the
has
planet,
like its own psychic ability.
right.
So
that's
like,
what I'm thinking. Like,
yeah, like
it's like a link with the commanders.
Yeah, like
and
it's-
then all that data is uploaded to that ship,
creature,
and then
yeah.
it like molds
Downloaded
this.
yeah, it's just
creature.
crazy that this is its own ship and
It's
not
not
just,
the Hive fleet.
Yeah, exactly. So
It doesn't come from the Hive ship. Yeah, that's odd.
yeah, and the last thing is the Tyrannocyte, and these are just another name for like Tyranid spores, like mycetic spores. They're just another type of drop pod or
Okay.
like nothing.
But
just-
they're alive.
They are, yeah.
Well,
And like they'll drop onto the planet, and then they got like look tentacle things, and
It's
they
just
scuttle
like
around.
everything around them.
Yeah, like kind of weird. So,
It's good.
so I'm sure there's also like hundreds of different variations, and even within like some of these categories, like the Krakens, there's one ship that has like an EMP built into it, so when it comes into contact with like force fields and stuff, it discharges and disrupts force fields. Like they have all these different variations with inside of each of these.
Yeah, and they'll birth it depending on what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like a ship class, but the ship can be modified
Yeah.
individually to
Yeah.
whatever weapon.
They have feelings. They're alive.
they're alive. We need to protect Tyranids. They're an endangered species.
They're just trying to protect themselves.
We're the monsters.
You guys are the worst.
I mean, we are the monsters. We killed billions of our own people.
That was for fun though. It's
Crypt
different.
men. Instead of Christian, crypt man.
Yeah, but so as we went through these main three fleets, the one thing that all of them had in common was their end came after like the Tyranid Hive fleet itself was destroyed. Like, in order for you to truly like defeat the Nids, you can't just win a ground campaign. Like, they're gonna come back.
Right, because all of their rebirth stuff, like how they create their swarms, how they create their commanders, how they store their data, it's all kept in the fleet.
Yeah, and when you assault the fleet, it's made up of like thousands of these different ships that like just are ramming you and tentacle whipping you and like
and shooting massive macro acid weapons at you and boarding you and pinching you and stuff.
Squeezing. Groping.
Tentacle whip.
Licking. Wait, we're getting a little slutty.
Yes. Is this Tyranid or is this a Friday night at my house, boys? I don't know what's going on.
So yeah, that's kind of all we had planned to talk about for the episode.
Yeah,
like,
that's the main 3 Tyranids fleets, what they've done. That's their composition is the total of those ships.
Yeah.
Well,
Some
3
knowledge
fleets,
bombs.
3 fleets, 3 dudes. Which one would you be?
I'm not very subtle.
I was gonna say Mark's Behemoth.
Yeah, I'm not very subtle.
It's like a battering ram.
He just
Both sexually and mentally.
if there was ever a man who embodied that lack of
Intelligence, would say.
I don't want to say that, but
I'll
okay.
say it. It's fine.
Then all right, Mark's Behemoth.
Okay. I'm gonna say Christian is Leviathan because
I would agree with that.
he thinks he's clever and he thinks he's trapping all these systems into a sticky, messy plot. But he's not. He's really just screwing himself over.
I'll be Kraken. That's fine. I use gene stealers.
Yeah, you don't want to
You're trying to
spend.
impregnate things.
Yeah, you don't want to spend time around you. You just
Yeah. I'm just
Always
sending my little
probing.
ones off.
Yeah,
Oh, gross.
that's. I'm glad.
Jordan, what would you be?
Thanks, Jordan.
That was such a good one, Jordan. You're so fun.
It's just like every episode, he's had pretty much the same amount of input.
Hey,
It's funny because like we could talk all the shit we wanted about right now.
Yeah,
he won't
what's
ever
he gonna
listen.
do?
He's not gonna listen.
No, of course not.
Or maybe
Actually,
he
he
will.
might because this is going to require some heavy editing on this episode. Jordan, we love you. Please don't leave.
I stood up from last episode.
Oh,
So
good.
I did. Yeah, I said, Jordan, you're welcome here because you do the details we don't
He
want to
smells
do.
good too. So I also enjoy touching him because he doesn't really say anything like other people. So it just allows me to do what I need to do to get my stuff done with him. Anyways, that's
So
it.
you want to hear a Mark 40K rant of the day?
I do want to hear a Mark IV, as long as it's not about Primaris Marine.
No, it's not.
Okay.
And the rant also comes with pluses.
Oh.
I'm quite happy,
Oh, good.
quite
That's rare.
content. It is rare, but I also have some hatred to spew.
That's normal. That's expected.
So the Knight Armiger
Oh.
Helverins, the ones with the twin auto cannons, they're fucking sweet. Like they're probably one of my all-time favorite models now. What are you doing that? Why are you doing that face?
Necron models are way cooler.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously, yeah, but they're cool. Like it's not that I don't like the Warglaive ones, like the Melton, the Chainsword one. It's just if you want that setup, if you want that look, you can get like a full-size Knight. But like I don't know, there's just something about like the auto cannons. It just looks sweet. But here's my piss off about it. So they released the Warglaives, and their shoulder plates, their toe armor, and their greave armor, or I guess it'd be thigh armor. It is all Mechanicum armor. Then when you buy the Helverin, it's all Imperial armor. These sons of bitches at Games Workshop are fucking us so because they're fucking us hard.
All 4 of us who collect.
Me specifically. But like, so in literally every
Armature players unite. Mark gets one message. Hey, I also like the armatures.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. So all the other Imperial Knights, it's like when you buy a Knight, it can be built in like 10 different ways. Like it actually gives you all the weapon options for that Knight. With this one, like the Warglaive and the Helverin are 2 separate Knights. It's kind of retarded. And when you look at the sprue size, it's only like a 4x8 sprue. Not even. Like it's super tiny.
Yeah.
Like it's
You were
not,
showing me the other night. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But what the piss off is, it's like, so now if I want Armiger Warglaives with Imperium aligned armor plates, I would have to buy a Warglaive, or no, I mean a Helverin to get those ones, but then I have a Helverin that doesn't have any armor, and vice versa if I want a Mechanicum based one. And it's just like,
So it's really dumb.
it's
I think,
retarded. It's bad.
because like for someone like I think a lot of people won't care, right? A lot of
No.
people, they won't understand the difference between
No.
a Mechanicum and an Imperial Knight.
No.
But for someone who specifically does this because they love the setting and you want to be as accurate as possible as you play this game, it would really piss me off too if
Like-
I had to do that. If
Exactly,
I wanted
like-
this knight that has this loadout, but I need the armor from the other knight that I don't need at all. So
Yeah.
I
And-
get that.
Yeah, like it's just like because now they have different armor plates. And it's just like, oh, come on, like.
So now you have to buy both.
I would rather pay an extra $10. I'd rather them gouge me even more money and I get both sprues than not get them. Like it's retarded. The other retarded thing is like you can do these units in units of 1 to 3, but they come in box sets of 2. So then you have to buy 4, and then you're like, well, now that I have 4, I might as well buy 2 more. So now I have 6.
But that's nothing new with Games Workshop.
No, like, that's
right?
just- that's good business.
Like in a Necron like thing, so you Necron warriors, like they start at 10 and you can go all the way up to 20, but
Yeah.
they sell the Necrons in packs of 12.
Yeah,
So
like
if
why
you,
would
if
why
you
would
buy
they do
two,
that?
if you buy 2, now you have 24. So if you
many
want to
you
run a
have to
full
buy?
unit, like
You have to buy 5 box sets.
you have to buy 5 box sets if
To
you
get
want
that.
3 full units.
Yeah.
So it's just
It just is a weird thing to
it
do.
is an unfortunate thing for all of us
Yeah.
who support Games Workshop.
Yeah.
And if you're
Because
listening, at
Just
least
don't
take me
screw
to
us
dinner
over.
first before you.
Yeah, no, it's like it's one of those things where it's blatantly obvious, like
Yeah.
that they're doing it just for money, and
And it's
yeah.
smart, and they're all sharing
Sure,
a £5 million bonus.
I can't blame them for making money; they're a company, but
Yeah.
still, like sometimes I
it
just
would be
get
nice
a little
to see some
irked.
customer.
Satisfaction.
And they have
Yeah.
been pretty good, but every now and again they do something where it's just
Well,
it
was
makes
it
me
what were you
scratch
talking
my
about?
head.
Your shoulder pads, where they come in like packs of 9, like your blister packs?
Oh yeah, so when you buy an Ultramarine upgrade kit or a Blood Angel one for like Primaris Marines, it comes in a box of 9.
But how many Space Marines?
Squads are 10. When you buy a box set, it's 10 Marines. Like what the fuck is
So
that?
you need to
Like,
buy an entire another blister pack
For one.
more Marine.
Yeah, like that's it's
It's
bad.
such a joke.
It's bad. And my other rant about Imperial
Guys, I swear we're actually really happy people
no,
most of the
I
time.
actually love Imperial Knights. Like if you've been talking to me personally, I'm like I can't wait to play with this army. It's
Yes.
so fucking good.
We
Like,
actually are really happy people. Just this is our place.
This is where we go to.
every now and
Unload.
again, yeah. My other
I don't normally unload here. I unload privately. That's weird, Christian.
in the presence of loved ones. I leave you to define what loved ones are to you. Parents.
Siblings.
Continue with your
Siblings.
rant, Mark, you sick bastard.
My rant is the difference of Games Workshop and Forge World. Like they're
Okay.
different, but they're the same, and it just is upsetting. Once again, being an Imperial Knight player, when I have 5 Imperial Knights from Forge World, yet they're not in my codex, which I understand. But it's
well, yeah, they'll never like. Sorry,
they've
keep
never
going.
done that. Like I understand, sure, like that's whatever. But like in order to get like to fulfill like command points or whatever, like I would have to bring a X amount of Imperial Knights. But any Forge World Knights I bring, they don't contribute to that X amount. And it's just like, really? Like you're penalizing me now for paying already for a model that's way more expensive, both money and points. And I don't ever want to bring a Forge World Knight now because I'm already so limited in my Imperial Knight choice. I can't spare it for one of these cooler knights.
Okay. In
Like-
all fairness, I don't know anyone who would play a pure knight army.
Well, you just never met. Wait, hold on. Say that again.
Sorry. I don't know any rational or
There
sane
you go. Because I'm like,
person
you know me.
who would play
I'm
a,
that guy.
who would play a pure knight army. No one else is doing that. Everyone else is supplementing. Like, no one's building an actual Lord of War detachment unless they're paying like a 3,000 point
Yeah,
game.
it's not
and
the
they
most
can
practical
supplement it
thing.
with
And you're
IG
fighting,
or
like,
something.
Titans.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not
So-
the most practical,
So
but
most people aren't trying to build command points with their knights.
no, but still, it's just
Right?
like
They're getting those command points really cheaply by fulfilling it with IG
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You just
right?
take 150 or 180 points of IG. No big
Exactly,
deal.
and that
But
you're
it-
getting like your 3 command points or whatever.
It's frustrating to have models from Forge World, which I paid a lot of money for, and just seeing them like get penalized. Like my Knight.
Yeah, to me,
my
that's a little
final.
odd.
Yeah, like my final rant is the Knight Proferion, the Knight of Castus Proferion. It's supposed to be the biggest, like most powerful, heavy fire support knight out there, and then they release the Valiant and the Castellian, which have a dozen more guns on them. and like they're still the size of a normal Imperial Knight. So it's like they just, I pay 900 points for my Acastus because it's Forge World. I pay $500 for my Acastus because it's Forge World, or I could just buy a Valiant or a Castellan and get everything that's better. Like it's kind of fucked in my mind. It's when you spend that much money and then for reasons that I don't even know why they don't combine the two. Like I just don't understand.
Or at the very least, like communicate with each other.
Yeah, I just don't.
They don't
understand.
have to like produce at the same, but like one should know what the other one is gonna do.
No, there's no way
they
don't
don't like
know. There's
double
no way they
release.
But like,
things
yeah,
or-
like,
yeah.
why would my Imperial Knights not have all the Imperial Knights in that codex? Like, is it really so much of a burden on them to print 3 extra pages of
Yeah,
Imperial
it is
Knights?
expensive.
Like
it's just-
Forge World stuff is never included in your codex.
No, and it never has been. But why?
Oh.
So you could buy another book.
That doesn't.
It's just a piss off, man. It's just a piss off.
But like, yeah. So sure, like
Yeah.
I get that one, but that's never gonna change. The thing
No.
is,
But it should.
your stuff not being included in and counting towards your like your house rules or whatever.
Yeah.
That should be FAQ'd. To me,
And
that's
some of this
ridiculous.
stuff will
It
be.
will because
but-
like even my Necron pieces, like they still have in there like dynasty.
Yeah.
So I can ascribe them whatever dynasty I want them to be
Yeah.
a part of, unless it's like a pylon, in which case it can't benefit from
Yeah.
it. Right?
So it's just I really like the new Imperial Knight Codex. Like the armigers change the way Imperial Knights work. You can actually do an all Imperial Knight army and feel like you're actually playing and not just you have two models on the field.
debatable.
You're never playing me unless it's Imperial Knights, so just accept the fact and get over it.
Yeah. No, I'm excited
yeah.
to play against them.
Yeah, and if it's completely trash, like I'll switch. Like
Of course.
if we're not having fun with me playing with them, I'm not. I've never played with my Imperial Knight army once, and I own 12.
How many of them?
12 of them
Yeah,
and a
exactly.
warlord. So, yeah, because I knew it would never be fun to play with them.
It was
But-
never, yeah.
But
Well,
anywho, that's my rant. Thanks for listening. If you agree with me, send me a message. If you hate me, send me a message.
either way, talk with him. He's lonely.
I'm a lonely man.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Anyways,
that's all.
it's hot as balls in this room.
Yeah.
I want to get out of here. Message us, guys. We love feedback on anything and everything. You can email us, lorehammerpodcast at gmail.com. You can Facebook us. Just search Lorehammer. You can rate and review us on iTunes, which would be absolutely awesome for us. What's another one? You can find us on Redbubble, which is where we sell a bunch of Lorehammer branded merchandise. If you want to start taking a look at the projects we're kind of working on, you can check us out on Patreon. Again, we're very involved on Facebook, so if you have any other questions, you'll see all that stuff there.
Yeah.
Other than that, this is Eric signing out, saying hasta luego, arrivederci, and sayonara.
Magucha Mustapan El Diablo.
Christian, are you going to say goodbye to our loyal fans?
They're not my fans.
No.
I owe them nothing.
That's true.
They've taken
the reason
everything
they
from
hate
me.
you is because you have that attitude. If you just did what I did and bend
I'm,
over for
I'm
them,
doubling down on my stance, and I'm gonna start making fun of the fans. I'm going to take this time to berate and belittle them.
I've already determined that our fans are lore losers.
Well, you're doing a better job than I am of making fun of them.
I like calling them lore losers. What's up, lore losers? It's Eric. It's your boy. What's up, lore losers? It's your boy Eric. Back at you again.
Good thing you're not in charge of the Facebook page.
I'm definitely in
Good
charge of the
thing.
Facebook. All right, guys. See you later.